Well, my friends, we are less than 24 hours away from the open beta of the first Descendant, and as I promised you in a video last Friday, I wanted to bring you up to speed on a few updates the game passed along, talk about what we can expect to see in the open beta, and more importantly, answer some of the questions you've sent the channel. What is going on, my YouTube family? Welcome back to the Gaming Brigade and the open beta for the upcoming free-to-play third-person looter shooter. The first Descendant begins tomorrow, so today I wanted to pass along a bunch of details. Now, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, you could hit that like button as well, and we are having a giveaway for an Xbox Series S. We're giving away 2, and all you need to do to enter is either subscribe here or follow on Twitter, and the winners will be announced October 1st of this year. So as of this video going live, you can now pre-download the game on all 3 platforms. You can see this is available on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. It runs from Tuesday, September 19th, which is tomorrow, to Monday, September 25th. And for those of you that would like a link to all of this information, I will leave it in the video description down below. It is going to take you to the page where you can sign up for the open beta, so definitely check it out and download the game ASAP. Now at this point, we're going to jump into what we can expect to see starting tomorrow during the open beta, and what you're looking at on screen are some developer notes that the game put out a few days back. And as always, I will leave a link to these notes in the video description down below. That way you can check them out anytime you want. Now what you're looking at is a message from the game's director, and you can see they say the following. Today I'd like to talk about missions, which we've spent the most time testing. Missions were another type of content that received a lot of feedback after the last Steam beta test. The feedback included the fields felt empty, missions felt monotonous and repetitive, as well as feeling difficult to play together because players on different missions were often matched in the same field. They go on to say, we love to be perfect in every way, but unfortunately the dev team's time and resources are limited, so we had to decide where to focus. The first Descendant is a character-driven game, so we wanted to design the missions so that they lent themselves to skill-based combat, and since it's also a grindy game, we established a direction for design to ensure that the missions have a structure that motivates farming and offers high replayability. So rather than trying to fill the fields to make them come alive, we focused on increasing the quality of the missions to enable character-driven combat with high replayability for farming. That now takes us to talking about improvements that were made to mission progression structure. In the last Steam beta, all missions were on a linear path. You had to complete the first mission to take on the second, and so on. This meant that even when there were other players on the same battlefield, they were rarely on the same mission, and it was difficult to create a cooperative multiplayer experience. In this crossplay open beta, you will experience a new mission progression structure. The biggest difference is that the fields will be played on a battlefield by battlefield basis. A typical battlefield will consist of 1 camp and 3 to 4 missions. Clearing all of the missions in a battlefield opens up the next battlefield where you'll be able to play new missions. They finish off this section by saying, most importantly, there is no particular order in which you must complete the missions in the battlefields. You can pick and choose to start any mission you like. You can start the mission nearest to the camp, but it's also fine if you jump into a mission started by another player and play it with them instead. You can also check out the mission information and start with a mission that has a short play time, or pick an easy mission type if you want to. Now, to be honest, I have no idea what any of this means, and keep in mind as I say that, I understand the changes they're talking about, but until we get our hands on the game, I really can't make a determination on how the changes will really impact my gameplay, and obviously starting tomorrow. My goal is to play this game as much as I can between now and when the open beta ends, to really see if it is the type of game I enjoy, and from everything I'm looking at and seeing so far, it looks absolutely amazing. We will see what happens starting tomorrow, and as always, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Now at this point, my friends, we are going to talk about the different missions we are going to encounter during the open beta, starting with Extermination. The objective is to attack the Vulgus camp and eliminate all enemies. The final battle features a powerful commander or elite soldiers, so it's important to make good use of the variety of weapons and skills you have at your disposal. That now takes us to our next mission type, which which is called Search. And this mission type focuses on searching for the Iron Heart. The detector is powered by your shield's energy, and since the detector depletes your character's shield, the mission will be easier if you use Ajax, who is a defense specialist. And one thing I want to mention really quick as we move on is that over the next week I will be putting together some standalone videos going over all of the character types we have access to. That is now going to take us to the next mission type, which is called Seizure. And in this mission type, you must disarm the security system of a Vulgus repository and seize the resources. While the security system is being disarmed, enemies will swarm to defend the repository. The player has to stop them from getting too close to the repository. Now that brings us to the collection. And in this mission type, you must retrieve the data fragments before the vital information about Albion is compromised. This platforming mission requires you to use jumps and grappling swings to maneuver between precarious structures without falling. And in addition to what I just mentioned, they have also added new base-centered missions in store, such as destruction, supply, capture, and defense. And the game is also making major improvements to dungeons. You can see they say each dungeon features a unique boss, also known as a named monster. Dungeon bosses have more diverse skills and patterns than normal monsters. We wanted to improve battles with dungeon bosses to make them more tense and exciting without simply increasing their HP and turning them into bullet sponges. That is why we have added a new phase to dungeon bosses. When a dungeon boss takes a certain amount of damage, they become invincible. Each type of boss has a different mechanic to remove this invincibility, so you will need to analyze patterns and fight strategically. Now, the game director finishes off by saying everything I've talked about today is content you'll be able to experience in the upcoming crossplay open beta test. However, the dev team is well aware this isn't quite enough to fill the amazing world of the first Descendant. So we will continue to work on beefing up field content so we can show you even more at launch. In addition to missions, we're also working on side content for you to enjoy, as well as lore content that can be discovered all over the world. We are also preparing a wide variety of content to ensure that all our Descendants enjoy the game. We look forward to having you join us in the crossplay open beta test to experience these changes, give us feedback. Until then, we'll be waiting and polishing the first Descendant. Now, as I start to wrap this up, there are 3 things I'd like to go over really quick. First of all, to be clear, when this game launches, it is a free-to-play game, and obviously that means the game is going to have microtransactions. What those are going to be, I have no ideas yet, but as always, I will pass that information along as soon as I get it. Now, the next thing is a question that many of you sent the channel, and you're simply wondering if you can play this thing as a solo player. The answer is yes, and I promise you over the next week, I will bring you footage as a solo player, as someone who's rolling with a dedicated group, and using random matchmaking as well. The last thing I want to go over are my hopes on what we are actually going to see when we get to play this game. And for me personally, I am going in with no expectations whatsoever, because when I look at this game, like as far as everything on paper, it checks off every box of something that I want to see in the game. It's third person, it's a looter shooter, it seems that there's going to be a lot of replayability. But like many of you out there, because I have been burned by games before, I do not want to get my expectations too high. Now the best thing is it is free to play, which means that it will take no financial commitment whatsoever to try this thing out. So if you think you may enjoy games like this, I recommend jumping in. That is going to do it for this video. I sincerely appreciate the privilege of your time, and as I mention at the end of every one of these, if you happen to be new here, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button. If you enjoyed this, you could hit that like button as well, but most importantly, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone.